Hello, welcome back everyone. I hope you're all doing fine and well today. So it's another video as usual where I'll be walking you through my top trade setup. And yes, we're also going to be talking about the trade I have running. And then we're going to talk about, the basic stuff. Okay, I'm going to give you my own personal trade recommendation. And then that will be that for today. You understand what I'm saying? So first of all, I apologize for coming in for the first time probably this month. I've been up and on. On and off, and it's been because I've been busy doing one or two, you understand. And I personally love recording videos, just making content for for my people, my client, my friends. So I hope you don't miss me so much. All right, without further ado, guys, let's get straight into the video. So let's start with the top trade setup that we have right here. But before we do that, let's also open the COT data down, all right, because we have to talk about that as well. And is there any interesting economic data coming this particular week? We're going to also take a look at that very briefly, though, very briefly, so we can cover the full part of today's session. You understand what I'm saying? So, all right, let's get straight into the video properly. Now, first off, let's talk about the top trade setup right here, as we can see it on Edge Finder. Right here we have Euro JPY topping the table. Then we have NZD JPY, and after that we have Swiss yen. Then we have pound yen, and then we have Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just generally accepted to be here, because we've seen what happened to the crypto market this past couple of weeks or even days. Just last week, the crypto market went crazy, went banana on us, and I was really fortunate to be holding some Ethereum, some Bitcoin. I was holding some Sui, some Solana. It has been phenomenal. I'm just gonna tell you that it's been very, very amazing. But after that, we have Aussie yen, we have pound card, we have dollar yen, we have euro dollar, we have US oil, we have pound kiwi, and then we have pound dollar. Now, pound kiwi is something that I took a trade on this, I think, week before last, and then I closed it because it kept dipping. But now that I'm seeing pound kiwi on the Edge Finder top setup, this just make everything so sweet for me right now. And I'm going to tell you that when we jump straight into the chart. But while we have all of this, now let me talk about the trade I have running. I have pound JPY running. As a matter of fact, on Thursday last week, this week that just ended, I recorded some videos that didn't make it to the air because I didn't post it. You understand what I'm saying? Because of the audio, I was not at home. I was recording it somewhere else, so it didn't make it to the air. But I was talking about the trade I currently joined, which is pound yen. I also have NZD JPY running. Okay, you can see right here, and then I have USD JPY. Okay, all of this trade I'm currently buying them. And in the last video I recorded, I was talking about pound NZD, okay, that I was buying pound NZD, which kind of like take me out in a very small lot because I kind of closed it because it was too dramatic. But the fact that I'm seeing it try on Edge Finder just cemented everything. I'm going to join the trade later. And then I also have a trade on NAS 100 back then, based on the last video I recorded, don't forget, I have a trade on NAS 100 NASDAQ, okay, which I also kind of like closed last week. I think last week Tuesday thereabout, all right. And I had a trade on Euro Kiwi, Euro NZD, which I was actually buying, all right, but all these ones were closed out, I think, in a tiny little bit of a loss or so. But NASDAQ was actually fabulously closing a very decent profit, although I still have a plan on NASDAQ, don't forget, and we're going to discuss all of this as we move on to this video. But before we actually jump into that, let's take a look at the Edge Finder right now. First up, right here on Edge Finder, on the COT net position, you can see right here we have Swiss still being sold, like the net position is being generally sold by institution. We also have CAD, then we have Kiwi, we have US 10, okay, which is US 10 years bond, and then we have Australian dollar right here. Among the very and heavily bought currency, we have Japanese yen, we have silver, we have gold, we have US oil, all right. So the likes of euro, the likes of pound, the likes of dollar, they are all averagely below, above 50%, meaning the net positioning, all right, which is quite decent. But we're just going to focus on all of this for now, and then we're going to see how we can make some very decent trade this coming week. All right, so that's that. Now, before I actually go, I want us to talk about the current data, the economic data that is coming this week. All right, we have on Monday we have just CPI in Switzerland. Okay, CPI month on month is coming in Switzerland, and then the service PMI is also coming in the United States. No, this is for last week. Excuse me. I think I need to change it to this coming week, which is going to be on the 11th. On the 12th. So this is the coming week. Apologies for that. Okay, right here we have on Monday there is actually there's literally no data that's coming. As you can see right there, we only have the Chinese yuan new loans that's actually tentative. It can come out anytime. On Tuesday we have some very decent data. We have the jobless claim in pounds, and it's expected to actually come higher than forecast, or than previous. It's forecasted to be higher which is not very decent. We also have average hourly earnings in the 3 month earnings, or let's just say average earnings index in the UK, which is also expected to drop. All right, the earnings the wages in the United Kingdom is dropping from 5.6% to 5.2%, which is not very decent. It's not good enough, but that's what we have right here. And by 10 a.m. on Tuesday, we also have Germany economic sentiment. That is actually nothing to talk about, right? But 1:30 p.m. we have the US core CPI, PPI month on month, and CPI year on year in the United States. And after that, I think it should be on Thursday, we have the PPI. All right, and then on Wednesday we have wage price index in Australia as well. So all of this data we have coming next week. You want to actually really sit down, because we have the PMIs in the United States, we have the PPI, we have the CPI in the United States, we have the PPI coming. All of this coming in the United States, and then in the United Kingdom we have the wage, okay, the wage growth on Tuesday, and then we also have the same thing in Australia and UK. We have the wage growth for both countries, and after that we have power speech on Thursday. Okay, yes, we have power speech on Thursday, so you have to pay close attention to that. And after that, we have just Swiss National Bank Chama speech as well, and then we have the University of Michigan consumer sentiment coming on Friday. Okay, all of these are very interesting data that you should pay close attention to. But in my personal opinion, I would just say just prepare for them. All right, especially but the one coming on Tuesday and Thursday, which is the PMI, the CPI, and the PPI in the United States, and then the wage earnings. You want to really pay close attention to those, because they're going to move the market in more ways than one. Okay, so pay close attention to that. And that is that. I think so. We've talked about the COT data. I mean, we've not really discussed the OT like that. We only talk about the net position. Now let's talk about the latest COT buy and sells, which is the filing that was happened yesterday, which is Friday. So first off, we have pound right here, and if you look at pound very well, you will see that we have institution opening more long position, and they are closing their short contract. Although the net long is still higher than the net short, which is still very good. But we have the institution actually leaning towards buying more pounds. We're going to see how that goes. And then what else we have? What we have on Swiss? Right here on Swiss, you can see it's actually very ridiculous on Swiss. They close 9 long contract and they close 749 short contract. Meaning Swiss still remain bearish. Okay. Generally, we still have lots of short contract or short position by the institution traders, or the institution literally on Swiss. So that is also something you want to pay close attention to, but I don't really care. I want to focus on what is happening in Australia, in New Zealand, and in the United States dollar, and I mean the United States and Japan. So in Australia right here, you can see right here we have the institution actually opened, let's just say the big banks. Okay, they closed some of their long contract, the same thing they did with their short contract as well. I think this seems to be repeating itself. The same thing on card, but no, I think as far as card is concerned, we have the institution open new long contract, at the same time they open new short contract, meaning, and you can see the difference, right? They open 631 new long contract, and they open 4,071 new short contract, which is quite big enough, right? But just pay close attention to that. All right, they're buying card. All right, let's see what they're going to do to yen. Okay, if we see more short contract on yen, then my buy trade on yen, on dollar yen, and the rest of the yen pairs actually might be something quite decent. You can see right here they open new long contracts, at the same time new short contract. Okay, so we have 1,211 new long contract added, and then we also add 3,564 new short contract added. That is quite interesting. All right, that is pretty much interesting. I love what I'm saying right now on the COT data. And lastly, in the United States, they open relatively the same contract, or the same position. They added the same position right here. You can see 2,158, 2017, both long and short. Well, it's fair enough. Let's take a look at the Kiwi NZD. Where is it right here? Well, the same thing they did in Australia, right? They closed some long, and they also closed some short, but they closed a more bigger position on their long and a more smaller position on their short, meaning they're still quite bullish. Okay, and that's why we see something like Kiwi dollar. All right, where's Kiwi dollar again? Kiwi yen. I thought Kiwi dollar was one of the top setup, which is indicating buy, but I get it disappeared already. Man, that's fair enough anyways. But that's all we have on the COT position. Just properly position yourself. All right, we don't do this all the time, but let's check the retail sentiment. Okay, let's check the retail sentiment. What are they doing? What is the retailer doing? All right, I'm going to take the minor pairs. I'm going to remove metals. I'm going to remove the indices. I'm going to remove commodities as well. I only look at just the currency pairs, just the currency pairs. And you can see right here, okay, we have The USD CHF is being generally bought by 79%. Euro GBP is also extremely bought. NZD CHF also extremely bought. And then we have the Kiwi dollar, USSR, CAD Swiss, Aussie yen being relatively around 50%. Okay, the same thing with USD JPY and then AUD USD. They have been relatively bought as well. Been bought, but from Euro CHF all the way down to Aussie Swiss right here, they are below 50%. They are around 48% to 40%. But anything below that, from Euro JPY, Euro dollar, and the rest, they have been extremely shorted by the retail traders. Okay, people like you and I. But we all know that we don't follow these guys, right? We don't follow this. We rather follow the COT positioning, which is the institution, than we follow these people, because most of the time the market just go the opposite direction of what this is showing. Most of the time, not all the time. Most of the time. That is why I would rather focus on what the institution is doing rather than what the retail traders are doing. That is just the way it is for me as a trader. Now, guys, let's jump straight into the charts. I mean, I cannot wait to share one or two with you. Let's start with the dollar index. For the first time in a long time, dollar index finally broke above the 100 region, right here, which is very significant and quite important, because in a long time, since April 14th, that we've seen, I mean, since the beginning of April, I think from 4th of April, that we saw euro dollar actually, I mean, DXY fell below this region, below 100. It has stayed there up until May 9th. Let's just say like one straight month, we saw that DXY stayed below this region, which is very significant for a lot of time. And because of that, we saw a kind of a rapid growth in the number of people that are buying pound dollar, euro dollar, Kiwi dollar, Aussie dollar. It was a very massive pump. And for a long time as well, I've been leaning towards the pullback, okay, back to this region, the 50% region, or just 103 region right there. I've been leaning towards that I want to see the market come to that region. It is only when I get it to this region right here that I can start looking for further short on Euro USD. And that is why I still am right now. All right. But for a starter, we've seen the beginning, right? We've seen the beginning right here when they broke above here. Now, the plan is, are we going to see this to continue gradually to the upside? And I think the fact that Donald Trump also seems to be leaning towards it's kind of like expressing friendship, like it's coming down on the bullying part, okay, to the what's it called, to the Chinese people, because I mean they are the one that feeds the world right now. They're more like the producer of everything we eat in the world right now, everything we use, electronics and everything. Literally, they're the biggest producer. So since Donald Trump, and I believe the last time I checked, I think the Chinese or the China tariff, the US China tariff now is around 80%. Okay, so Donald Trump has reduced it to 80%. He said he's not going to go to zero, but it will be significantly reduced. And this is a significant reduction, okay, from 245% to 80%. I mean, we can all agree that that is a significant reduction. As a matter of fact, some analysts forecasted that it's going to drop all the way to maybe 50%, right? And I see that happening though, because Donald Trump has been saying, yeah, we can't play hardball with China, with the Chinese people, with China, blah blah blah, like that. Donald Trump is a very cool guy. He's a guy. There's nothing we can do about it. But at the same time, sometimes he just does his own thing, and we don't agree with him. But at the end of the day, he's a businessman. He's the president of the most powerful country in the world. We just got everything just has to happen the way it has to happen. There's nothing we can do about it. But the thing is, I think the fact that he took this step is a step to a great thing, especially in the financial market. Now we can see dollar actually moving decisively towards the upside. And also, we also checked. We see that the Fed also decided to hold off on cutting rate. And we're expecting it to actually start cutting in June, but there's some latest information that came to the market that we might actually see that happening in July instead of June. So as time goes on, we're going to get full details of all of this, all right? But right now, in my personal opinion, I would still love to see DXY move back to this region, 103. And also, some people, or let's say we have something we can actually call and then a shoulder pattern right here. Okay, inverted that shoulder pattern. You can see we have shoulder right here, we have the head, and then we have the shoulder. Some will argue that is something significant, and I think I would be among those people, but it doesn't really matter anyways, okay? But if the market decided to continue to go to the upside, that is fine and well. And peradventure, if the market decided to start coming down, I mean, it has done its best. I guess dollar is not going to get to this region. All we have to do now is to wait patiently. By the time market open on Monday, maybe there's going to be a gap to the upside. I don't think that's going to happen, but with the conflict between Pakistan and India, it might cause a little bit of a root cause in the market. So let's anticipate for anything to happen in the market moving forward. But in my personal opinion, I think the time I spent on DXY actually worth it, because I've not really done anything. I've not recorded any videos. So I think this is really worth it. So let's move on to the next pair, which is one of the pair I'm holding, which is pound yen. I started buying pound yen on Wednesday last week. I started buying right around this region here, and so far so good. It looks very decent. I'm gonna share the result as time goes on, okay? But this actually looks very decent. I also share it to my groups. I think I'm not sure I shared these on the free Telegram channel, but I share it on my Signal page. I also share it with the folks with my friends on my personal mentorship group, which was quite decent. Everybody kind of took it, and people really did make decent money. People are still making decent money because we're still in this trade. The plan is to see if we can get the market, okay, if we can get the pair to actually move towards this region, which is 199, okay, at the top here. If we can get the market to move towards this region right here, that will be very, very significant to every single person that took this trade. But as time goes on, we still have to wait and see how this goes in general. All right, so just follow me as I go. The next pair that I have running, that I still have holding, is USD right here. Dollar yen, on the other hand, is also very decent and significant. The first reason why I would say it's significant is because, first off, we're seeing the third time retest of this particular support region right here. And every time we see the market retesting this particular region, it made a very sharp rebound. The first time it went to make a new all-time high at 161.82. The second time it did that right here around September last year, it made a very close retest of this particular high, but it didn't get to this high. But this is, we can all agree that this is a sharp rebound. And now this is the third time it's making that retest, okay, of this particular 140 region, okay. That is significant, okay. Personally, as a demand or supply trader, as someone that really loves to see support and resistance get tested, okay, the simple stuff, I am just into this trade. And then considering the fact that I also saw the setup come on Edgefinder looking very bullish, all right, with 6 reading, I think by the time we get a break above here, by the time we get a break above this trend line and a nice and decent pullback, my brothers and sisters, man, it's gonna be reading very bullish on Edgefinder. And I'm just glad I get in very early. Now, is this trade the best? Not yet. Why? Because we still have dollar extremely weak. Yen is also pretty weak. All right. So dollar is not super strong right now. Yen is not strong at all. All right. So that the fact that since the BOJ also said this year again they are not going to be hiking rate anymore, that kind of like drop all the anticipation on the enthusiasm that traders kind of have for yen being bullish all through the year, all throughout this year. It just kind of like shattered everything. Like everybody just kind of like held on, just relaxing, seeing how this play out in the long run or in the next couple of days or couple of weeks. So I guess that is why we're seeing a weaker Japanese yen. But at the end of the day, if I'm gonna really relax and rely on this particular trade for sure, I would like to see the market break above this particular region, which is 147 region. I want to see it break above here, pull back nice and decent, and then I can now go bananas on it. All right, but right here it's still very risky, okay. But if I took it also here back in the days when it was right here around September last year, 2024, I guess it's going to be risky as well. But if I held on to it, you see the profit that I would have made. All right, the same thing back in, I think, 2023. Yeah, I think December 2023, right around here when it was here. If I took it, the market is pretty bearish, right? If I'd taken it, it would have looked very, 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 very risky as well. But if I'd held onto it, it would have been a banana kind of trade. All right. So every trade starts up with a risk. That's why we have stop loss. Just in case we are wrong, we'll gladly take the loss and then move on to the next one. But if we're positive and the market move in the direction we forecasted, we end up dancing Yahooze. You understand what I'm saying? So that is how it goes for me anyways. But right now I'm holding USD JPY and I'm sticking to it. The next trade I'm also holding is NZD JPY. This is awfully young. All right. But the first thing I saw or I noticed the fact that on the 4-hour time frame, let me bring out 4 hours and let me bring out my moving averages and everything. On the 4-hour band, you notice something very significant, and that is the fact that we've seen a crossover right here. Okay, we've seen a golden cross right there, 50 period moving average crossing above 200 period moving average. That's a significant one. On euro, on USD JPY, that hasn't happened. On pound yen, that has happened. Okay, on the 4-hour band. So looking at this right here, and then we saw this very demanding and very crazy trend line on the daily time frame gotten broken. Let's actually take it back to the daily time frame so you can see what I'm trying to say. On the daily time frame, when you look at that trend line, you see that it just got broken. Like just got broken. That's a very, very, very interesting trend line right here. You can see it's a very and it got broken right here. Got broken, got retested, and I took a trade right there on Wednesday as well. That's a very significant trade. However, is the pressure over? Not yet. As a matter of fact, some of my friends, or let's say some of my students didn't even take this trade. They rather go for the GJ and GJ instead. All right, because I told them that this is a very risky trade. The plan is to see the market break above here, pull back nice and easy, then we can go bananas on the long position. This is an awfully early entry. The same thing on USD JPY, right? This is an awfully early entry. Despite the fact that the market looks very decent on the 4-hour band, we have the moving average looking very, very sweet on the 4-hour band. It's signaling buy opportunity. But at the same time, on the daily, we have to see everything actually materialize successfully. But right now, I'm holding this trade, and I would like to see how it goes moving forward. Now, that is all the trade I have rolling right now. The extra is the Australian dollar Kiwi. All right, Australian dollar Kiwi is another one which I kind of had closed off very early on Friday morning because it seems like it's never gonna like calm down for now. But I'm still looking forward to take a new shot on this one. Okay, by the time it breaks below here, because I'm still awfully bearish on it. But right now I have the trade close on Friday in a very tiny loss like that. But I'm still holding on to it to see if we're gonna get into another setup on this, guys. Now, if you want to join my trade setup, you can always come to my DM, okay, or you can just join my free Telegram channel. If you want an exclusive package, you want to join my trade signals, you want to join my mentorship group, just come to my DM. Let's have a conversation and let's see how we get started if you are interested. All right. So now about my trade recommendation. First off, I would recommend Australian dollar Japanese yen. I mean, that's the first one. You can see right here, Australian dollar Japanese yen is also reading very bullish on Edge Finder right here. And with a score of 7, right? Yeah, with a score of 7, that is significantly interesting. All right. So I would be recommending Australian dollar Japanese yen first off. But the trade is, I'm not going to take this trade right now. Definitely not. I'm not going to trade it at the top here. All right. First thing is, let's see if we can break above this trend line, pull back nice and easy. Then we can go on, this is what we call it's going to come to me, wait for it, the aggressive entry, right? Well, if you can wait for it to break above here, pull back to this region. Don't forget, it's a previously support region, and then it was used as resistance. That makes this particular region right here a key zone. All right. So if we can break this key zone to the upside, pull back nice and easy, we can look for a decent buy opportunity all the way to the upside. All these regions are going to get destroyed as time goes on, possibly and potentially. But right now, let's remain calm, let's remain easy, and let's watch how this trade goes on in the next couple of days. That's going to be my first top trade recommendation for you. The next one is going to be, and let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's talk about Bitcoin real quickly. So first off, Bitcoin made a very massive jump. All right. Now, I took a buy around here. I closed it at the top here. I was waiting for a much deeper pullback. If I'd recorded a video, you would have heard me say that I'm waiting for that pullback. I didn't get this pullback because it's just crazy. But Bitcoin came to this region and I missed this massive pump. Although on my spot trading account, where I've been holding Bitcoin around here, I held some around here, I held some around there. I'm making a decent return, to be candid with you. But when it comes to leveraging, when it comes to trading as a CFD asset, I don't have any trade on Bitcoin. Now, do I have a plan on it? Yes. Do I think it's going to play out? Some will not even want to like what I'm about to say about Bitcoin because you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to wait for pullback, right? Back to 91K. If I can go long on Bitcoin, that's very possible. But is it going to happen? Probably not. Does anyone want this to happen? Definitely not. But what do I want? I want to say that because I still have a lot of potential. It still has a lot of potential. It still has a lot of opportunity staring at us. And it could happen. And if it does happen, I'm going to take the trade. And it's going to, I'm going to definitely, my Fibonacci will be somewhere around there for sure. All right, yeah, somewhere around there, and the 50% Fibonacci for sure it's going to be falling around the region I was actually talking about. All right, earlier now, yes, around this region. I want the pullback to come to this region right here. Okay, this 38.2. Well, anywhere around this region will be good enough for me to take a new buy on Bitcoin, and I want that fall to actually be fast so that we can get the new pump moving forward. I still want it to pump to 2K. 200K, excuse me, 150K, whatever the key wants to go to, I'm good for that. But for now, I need that pullback. I'm sorry that I'm saying pullback, but it has to happen, guys. It just has to. I'm very sure some people also want that pullback to happen, like myself. But anyway, that's just the way it is. Now let's take a look at Ethereum. All right, I have something very decent on Ethereum. A friend and I were actually discussing Ethereum today. Okay, as Saturday as it is, we are discussing Ethereum. So the plan is to see Ethereum actually come down a little bit as well. I've had this plan for a very long time. I knew the fact that the market is, I could imagine, I don't know, but I could imagine because I've seen some crazy pump before. And believe you me, I took a buy right here some time ago. I took a buy around there and I took a buy on Ethereum. I'm going to share the chart with you. But it was a spot trading, okay? And I'm not going to tell you how much I put on all this region, but I've been watching the crypto market for a very long time. I've been anticipating for all this pullback, and this is around 78.6% pullback. As a matter of fact, let me quickly show you where I keep all of them. All right, this is Ethereum right here, and you can see all of my entries, right? This is the first entry. This is the first entry, the second entry, and the third entry. All right. So you can see what I'm talking about. I've been watching this for a really, really, really long time. All right, right there. Okay, a really long time I've been watching this. It's not a joke. All right. So this is Ethereum, as you can see right there. I'm still holding this trade because they are spot trading, and the plan is to see it come probably back to the all-time high around that 4,000%. But what I was trying to explain earlier is the fact that this pullback, this is the previous low. We got the new all-time high here, and it came all the way back to 78.6% right here. That is the massive pump. And now it's going back up. Maybe we're going to get something like this back to this region, and then maybe the market will now tank again. I'm not sure. I don't know. But as it goes on, I'm going to watch very closely, and we're going to have to see how it goes together. So if I have another setup for you, it's going to be Ethereum. Another trade recommendation. It's going to be Ethereum. Maybe you wait for the pullback back to retesting this particular region right here. All right, back to retesting this region right here. Okay, we have a region right there. Okay, we have a little bit of resistance right here. Okay, we have a resistance right here. The market can come back to this region. Yeah, you can look for buy opportunity around that 1,900 region. All right, if you get that region, yeah, you can look for a buy opportunity all the way back to the upside. And maybe we're going to get this in the next couple of months. I'm not sure, but I would argue that it's very possible because this is a massive breakout. So I guess we shall see. All right, but technically, that is what I would love to see on Ethereum. So lastly, before I go, let me look for another trade setup for you. Now, on Euro US dollar, this is not the idealist kind of trade setup, but I'm going to tell you one thing. I want to short Euro USD. It's a counter trend trade. Considering what is going on DXY right now, DXY seems to be going up. Don't forget where we started. DXY seems to be going up. So what I'm looking for on Euro dollar right now is we've seen it break below here, below this trend line, number one. Okay, this particular trend line. We've seen it break below this particular support region as well. You can see we have support right here. Now, another thing is we had this divergence at the top here. Okay, and then since we have this divergence, you can see we have a lower low, lower high. All right, so it's building up gradually. It's not the idealist kind of trade, not the best trade setup, but technically it fits into my counter trend trade system. And I would be shorting it as the market open on Sunday, which is tomorrow, like tomorrow evening. So I'm just telling you that. But possibly if I get it close below here, yeah, sure, why not? Okay, I'm going to be targeting this 50% Fibonacci on the daily time frame. All right, then we're going to long it again all the way to the upside because euro dollar is bullish. But for now, on a technical perspective, I'll be looking to short this one. And this will also be my huge opportunity to do what? To long for a while. If I'm a peradventure this play out this way. So my trade recommendation for you, look for BTC, okay, pull back, then you go buy. We have AUD JPY, wait for it, okay, wait for it, then you do what? You go long. We have Ethereum as well. Ethereum, wait for pullback, then you do what? You go buy. And then Euro dollar, okay, Euro USD, just wait for the market to open. If you like this trade, give it a shot to the downside. All right. That is all my trade recommendation. And don't forget, this is not a financial advice. All right. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow me on my socials. I'll see you in the next one. So this is the way the video has to be today. Don't worry. Once I'm fully set, the whole thing will go back to normal. Have a great one, guys. Bye for now.